breaking.
But we do want to get to the story that everyone's talking about this morning that broke here on this show on Wednesday, the shooting that happened. And now we know that the shooter apparently had a list of political targets, names, all of them Republican, 6 congressmen on this list, Representative Trent Franks, Jeff Duncan, Scott Desjarlais, Jim Jordan, Mo Brooks, and Morgan Griffith. All of them were on this list.
And we had the Daily Caller reporter on in the last hour who broke the story. It also is important to note that these are all members of the Conservative Freedom Caucus. So a politically motivated assassination attempt against conservative Republicans, there is no doubt. One of those targeted was Representative Trent Franks. He was on the story last night. He provided this additional detail.
There are certainly many indications now that the shooter was premeditated in his actions. I have been notified that there is an investigation and that, yes, that I might be involved in that investigation, but you know, I certainly can't go any further than that.
Well, this is an attack on one congressman, but it has been noted across Washington, D.C. It is an attack on all members of Congress at some level. And threats have continued, unfortunately. One of those threatened more recently is New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, and she joins us this morning. First of all, Claudia,
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for being here. Your reaction first to the news of a list, specific names, Freedom Caucus members.
Yeah, that's really disturbing. So now it does look premeditated, that it wasn't somebody just randomly walking onto a baseball field. He knew they were there. He knew the people he was looking for. And it's interesting that some of the people that he actually confronted, Jeff Duncan, who was on that list, he actually asked, are these the Republicans practicing? So it's really foreboding when you hear something like that. Very disturbing for not just the people that are on the Freedom Caucus, but all of us who've received threats like I have and many others.
Right. I mean, you received a threat after the shooting. 1 down, 216 to go. What is this about?
Yeah, this is actually been happening to me for months. I've received maybe not so many quite of this tenor, and it was particularly more upsetting when it occurred within an hour or so after this terrible news came on Congressman Scalise and the other Capitol Police and the staffer that were shot. A really terrible situation, but it just made it seem more like violence turned into reality. Violent rhetoric turned into reality. And for me, I've been receiving these for months, and of course, everything we turn over to the Capitol Police. But we got nervous. We said we've been sort of taking it not as seriously just because it was a threat. And now we have to look into making sure that we have a protocol in place for dealing with the safety of all of us, not just me and my staff, but my constituents who I meet with, hundreds of them on a weekly basis in my office here.
Just to give people a sense, here is the email sent to you. 1 down, 216 to go. Did you not expect this when you take away ordinary people's very lives in order to pay off the wealthiest among us? Your own lives are forfeit. Certainly your souls and morality were long lost before good riddance. That is just horrible, horrible stuff.
And also what they wrote about your son. When I read that, that sickened me. Explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I put out a Memorial Day message, and my son, who is actually a Naval Academy graduate and now serving as a first lieutenant in the Marine Corps. So I know you guys discuss that sometimes. I love the Naval Academy.
That's wonderful.
Great to be a USNA parent. But yeah, so I put out just a Memorial Day message. We have so many veterans in my community, and just to wish them all well. And I received a notice on Facebook that said, I hope your son comes back bagged. And it was so disturbing. I just couldn't believe anyone would say that. And then he doubled down. I rode in the Rolling Thunder, the motorcycle ride, had a great opportunity to do that to support the POWs and the MIA in this amazing event at the Capitol with Rex Tillerson, by the way, our Secretary of State, and continued, I hope you break your neck and don't survive Rolling Thunder. It's just, these kinds of things are just unacceptable. We have seen a normalization of this type of behavior, and I just, unfortunately, we need to be vigilant now.
Well, we certainly thank your son for his service, and you will be heading back to your district and others over the course of the next couple of weeks and months for town halls. Well, one Republican Congressman, Scott Perry, has postponed his town hall for today after this week's shooting. As some are wondering whether they should altogether. Strong opinions here. Do you take a prudent measure, or do you stand up and say we're not going to be threatened and we're not going to back down? Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, the issue of town halls, that was something that was started by the Tea Party. I love to engage with my constituents. I'm an attorney. I have run as an independent Republican. And it's important that we get to our constituents and speak with them and hear their views every way we can. The new town hall concept, though, has turned into somewhat of an ambush against conservative members, against members who are voted for the American Health Care Act, for example, who are trying to help their middle-class constituents who've lost their health care. It's become just a shouting match, an almost Jerry Springer-like atmosphere where we're not talking about issues and engaging with the member of Congress. It's almost like they're using the member of Congress in the position to advance their views and shout down the views of a lot of other people, whether they're senior citizens or veterans or other people who have genuine concerns about the fact that they have issues as well. So I love the concept of a town hall, and we've been doing them. We're doing another teletown hall. We're meeting with constituents in small groups just to ensure the safety of our constituents. I mean, this is a point where the dialogue has reached a level where we're not talking about issues, and we certainly disagree on how policy forms. And we've been doing a lot on a bipartisan basis. You know, I just attended the congressional baseball game with my colleague, Congressman Brad Schneider, and he's a Democrat from Illinois. We co-sponsor bills. We find common ground. As freshmen, we signed a commitment to civility, to stand and change the dialogue, to tone it down, to talk about exchanging ideas and finding common ground. Yeah. And that's something that we're not seeing the media reporting. And I'm grateful that you're out there reporting this, because the general consensus is that we don't get along, but that's actually not the case.
Well, that may be the case on a personal level. Yeah. The question will be whether Nancy Pelosi and the like ever stop resisting and actually come to the table, which is a whole different story than
that's more on policy than anything else.
Yeah. Congressman, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Congresswoman, thank your son for his service.
Absolutely.
I have 2 brothers in the Navy, so my mom would definitely relate to everything you just said.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for them. It's a wonderful experience.
It really is. Thank you so much.
Go Army, Congresswoman.
Oh.
Go Navy.
This will be settled in December.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Turning now to some other headlines we're following this morning, starting with hospital officials now confirming Republican Steve Scalise does remain in critical condition, but his vital signs have stabilized. The House Majority Whip has undergone 2...
Taped it up there.